Hello guys, it's Shrimp Time here, and today we got another English video with very important topic. I think that many of you would like to see this view in their shrimp tank. So how to achieve that nice looking shrimps being healthy, feasting on food, and trying to breed as much as they can. I think that the topic we are going to talk about, the cycling shrimp tank and any other aquarium, it's quite important, but there is a big amount of information that we have to talk about to show you how the process occurs in your tank and how should you handle this process. Basing on the informations you will get from today's video, you will understand the process and you will be able to choose the right way to cycle your tank, because there are many successful ways to cycle the tank, but you need to have the basic informations, some of them even a bit scientific informations about the process and about the bacteria that take part in the process, so that you can decide which way should you go, what products and what methods should you use. And in that way, you will also understand why some tanks that you tried to cycle didn't finish up cycling correctly, and some of them did. I hope that you will enjoy this topic and you could share this video to your friends, because I've made a bit of effort to make this video and I think it can be very helpful, especially that a lot of people ask me what products should they use to start the tank, and they show as well a lot of types of products that I even didn't know, that are not, from my point of view, so recommended to cycle your tank. So okay, let's start our topic with this little diagram from ResearchGate. It shows the basic way the nitrogen cycle in your tank. So first of all, the first source of nitrogen is uneaten food, waste products, etc. The first step of the cycle is organic nitrogen. It isn't even the ammonia, the NH3 or NH4+, but the organic nitrogen. Then we have heterotrophic bacterias that will change this nitrogen into ammonia. Next, we got nitrosomonas bacterias that will take part in whole cycle by oxidizing the nitrogen into nitrate. Next, we got nitrobacter that will change our nitrate into nitrite into nitrate. Sorry for my pronunciation. So NO2 will be changed into NO3. And next we have the final step, the way we will export our nitrate from our tank, but I think this is the topic for another video. So to close your tank cycling process, you need to go from all those steps. And according to basic scientific knowledge, this process can take from 2 weeks to 8 weeks to close up. And why is that? Basically, it's because the nitrifying bacteria need time to develop. They doesn't populate your tank so fastly, and you have each of the steps that you can see that will start after some time. So now we will see how the levels will present in your tank, and you need to remember this is some simplification of those levels. It is obvious if you will use different types of cycling tanks, those levels can change, they can rise in different matter, different ways. So this is only a graphic that is a simplification, and at the start we got our ammonia getting higher and higher. After it will reach certain level, the nitrosomas bacteria will develop and they will start to consume those ammonias, and they will change it into nitrite. Afterwards, we will have the start of colonizations of your tank by nitrobacter, which will change the NO2 into NO3. So nitrite into nitrate. And afterwards, we get the final stage, we get the stage of exporting nitrate from the tank. And this is the basic view of the process. It can take different amount of time depending on the start parameters of the tank. For example, if you got the ammonia right from the start, this process will take a faster route. As well, if you get a bit higher temperature, this process will go faster. You need to remember that there are some factors that have very important influence on this whole process, because the nitrifying bacteria need special conditions in your tank to develop. They will breed faster in pH above 6.5. They will breed faster if they got a higher temperature, like 24-25 degrees. And you need to remember as well that if you go into extremus, if you go to the values that will be extreme for them, for example, pH above about 5 or lower, this process will take more time. So if we know the basic of the whole cycling process, we need to ask ourselves some questions. The first question is, should we use nitrifying bacteria to start the tank? It is obvious that this is not necessary, because if you have time to cycle your tank will develop all the nitrifying bacteria from start till the end by itself. It can do that because the soil you use, the plants you use, even the media you use can have those bacteria in itself. So it is possible to start the tank without the addition of nitrifying bacteria. You need to remember that most of salt bacteria are not alive. It's like eggs of bacteria. It's some kind of simplification, but they need time to start. And this is not mainly due to the fact they also need time to breed, because it takes 8 hours, I'm not sure, to double the population of nitrifying bacterias. I think so. So they need time to start, and usually it is said that those eggs needs about 7 days to develop. So 7 days after getting the ammonia, 7 days after getting the nitrite, and 7 days after getting the nitrate. And afterwards they need time to populate and breed in your tank. So, but if you start the tank and you dose those nitrifying bacterias, then you will get bigger amount of those eggs into your tank. So the cycle process can be faster. Sometimes some methods use some types of starters that you use with bacteria. Usually you will get 2 bottles, 1 bottle with bacteria, second with the starter. And the starter can contain ammonia, but it can also contain heterotrophic bacteria that will decay the food, the organic waste in your tank, and will make this process go faster. Some of those mixes even tell you that the bacteria starts to work after some hours. And I can agree that if we are talking about heterotrophic bacteria like Lactobacillus, etc., they will start to work fastly after the contact with the water. But the nitrifying cycle for me won't start that fast, and it will need some days to develop in your tank. So you need to remember that. The second question, which is very commonly asked, is if there's a sense to add nitrifying bacteria to your tank after each water change. And for me, I have to answer no. Why is that? If you start your tank and you got the nitrifying process established correctly, then adding those bacteria won't change anything for me, because you got all those needed colonies. There are some suggestions that if you use those bacteria, you do that to fight with the bad bacteria you get in your tank that try to outpopulate your nitrifying colony. This is a big misunderstanding, or even a marketing idea to show this process. I have a very interesting exemplification of this problem, because imagine you got a wolf pack that is feeding on some type of place, yeah? And you want to fight with that wolf pack, adding buried female of different type of animal, and adding it straight to the feeding ground of that wolf pack. And you say that after this buried female will breed her kids, they will fight with the wolf pack, and they feast on the same type of food. It isn't true. It is impossible, because the wolf pack will attack and will eat that female, yeah, and long before the younglings will rise. So it's a bit the same. You get established bacteria on your filtration media, and you want to add eggs of bacteria to fight with those established bacteria that work correctly. It's big misunderstanding. Another problem is overfiltration. So a lot of people will tell you that you need to have the biggest possible filtration in your tank, so that you can outcome the nitrifying process in the best way. I must say that it's partly true, because if you got higher amount of filtration, if you got an ammonia spike, etc., the bacteria will have bigger place to colonize. On the other hand, the amount of population of your nitrifying bacteria always will be dependent on the amount of food that you provide to them. So if you got, let's say, 10 gallons tank, and you want to make 5 gallons filtration for this tank, for me it's overkill. You won't get so many benefits of that. You can have a slight difference with handling ammonia spike, but only if this problem will occur in longer period of time. There were researches made that tested the colonies of nitrifying bacteria and the way they develop in different water conditions. And there were different approaches, different tanks with different conditions, with different levels of ammonia, with different levels of pH, with different levels of temperature, and the control tank that have some stable levels and that wasn't affected with all those parameters. And when you change the levels in the tank, so you change the level, for example, of ammonia and temperature, you got different speed and different amount of bacteria growing. But and you got a different type of genetics of those bacteria. But when the levels and the temperature went back to the tested tank, to the reference tank level, the speed of growth of bacteria and the type, the genetic type of bacteria mostly went back to those parameters that were reference. So we got most of the bacteria the same as in reference tank, and the amount of population of bacteria went back to the levels of the tank. So this experiment shows you that the population of your nitrifying bacteria depends mostly, like 95%, on your tank parameters, not on the way that you will supplement bacteria, not on the amount of filtration medias. No, it will depend on the parameters that your tank got. And this is very, very important information, because it helps us understand how the tank should be built. Should we invest in very big amount of filtration? Should we invest in nitrifying bacteria dosing, etc.? And in my opinion, the most important part of cycling the tank and then keeping your shrimps happy, if we are talking about nitrifying process, is the first part. We have to establish that good filtration source, and afterwards we should not interfere with that source. It will work on its own. And the last topic I would like to talk about are the heterotrophic bacterias and autotrophic bacteria, because there are many ways of exporting nitrogen and the final product of nitrogen cycle, the nitrate. And you need to remember that today's video only talks about nitrogen cycle. The whole knowledge that you get from this video isn't the full knowledge that you have to know about managing the nitrogen in your tank, because you can use different ways to export that nitrogen from your tank by the nitrifying bacterias, like plants in your tank, like doing water change, like using special types of bacterias that will consume NH4 for the energy, but not in the oxidation process. But I think that I will make another video about this topic. I hope that you will use this knowledge that you get from this video, and I hope that you like this video. Let me know in comments, should I do more scientific videos that explain different part of shrimp keeping. And I hope that you enjoy it. Thank you for your time. Till the next time.